James, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm, man. How are you?
I'm doing really great, man. Thank you guys both so much for having me.
Oh, no, our pleasure, our pleasure. First of all, let us introduce ourselves. Dustin, Logan, and we are thrilled to be speaking to you. We are both huge fans of The Way Home. We have so many questions for you. We can't wait to dive into that. But we also are excited to talk to you because you are, from our research done, a fellow filmmaker, someone who is interested in directing and behind the camera stuff and not just in front of the camera. And you've got goals, and we love to talk to fellow like-minded individuals. So we're super excited to dive into that a little bit too. Let's get started, man. How we always kind of kick this thing off is for anybody that might not be familiar with you or your work, just give us a little bit of a background. How did you get started in the industry? Was it something you kind of always knew you wanted to do, or was it something you fell into? How did it get going?
For me, I think it was maybe a less than typical route. I mean, I've shared this answer before, so I'll just try to be completely honest about it.
Sure.
I just knew what I wanted to do, and the way that I lived my life, how I came up and experienced reality when I was young. I've always had just a certain level of neurodiversity to how I navigate life, and the typical system just, no matter how well I may have succeeded at certain skill sets within kind of like a subject, there was just no way I was ever going to succeed in a typical field. I didn't necessarily know that acting or film was going to be part of my life at all. I was pretty late to the game. Like I think I was 19 or 20 when I even got into it. But I just look, man. For me, being an artist is all about exploring your own psychology and your own philosophy and expanding on who you are. And the byproduct of that is often, hopefully, if you're lucky, to be able to make a living off of it.
Yeah.
And that's how for me. I consider myself very, very fortunate in that respect because ultimately, the freedom and real job that I always wanted in my life is the unpaid one. It's just self-exploration, exploration of life. And
Yeah.
of course that brings all kinds of epiphanies and pitfalls and fun awakenings and humblings. So yeah, that's kind of how I found my way into the arts, and I don't think I'll ever leave it. And certainly, what film is grew on me over time, and what acting is grew on me over time. And yeah, I think the ultimate goal here, at least for me, on a long list of just random little goals. So, everything I do in my life is essentially a tick off a bucket list of explorations. Yeah, I really want to direct and produce a movie of my own. And in this last year, I've had a little bit of success associate producing a couple of made-for-TV action movies, which turned out great. They were exciting. They were
Nice.
fun. It was awesome. It was through Empress Avenue Media on Vancouver Island here. We're very proud. The strike actually played right into our hand. It was perfect. Well, people were coming up with union waivers, a little Canadian scab action up here.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you're not scared to admit that, man. It's like, no, come on up here.
Opportunity, man. Yeah, what are you gonna do? But yeah, getting closer to that goal. But my best friend in the world, Graham Wardle, who actually we came up together on another show called Heartland. He and I, we got some plans to work on a feature together now. So hopefully that comes
Nice.
together. Yeah.
That's always a beautiful experience to be able to share that with someone who you're close with, right? Somebody who you can like really rely on, and you can always tell them, 100% the truth. Because Dustin and I always tell each other, we don't need yes men in our corner. We need people who are going to tell us the truth. And it definitely helps for you to get a little bit more information about us. He is actually my father-in-law. I met him first before meeting his daughter.
I'm all about family stuff. Go on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you,
He just
thank you.
what about, I think it's a little over a month now that he married
Yeah.
the daughter. So yeah. So
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's always important to have, supportive people in your corner, especially in this type of industry, because we talk about it all the time. It is a very slow burn type of industry. But to your point of talking about, not really knowing what to do at a certain age and kind of trying to check things off the bucket list, I find myself as a creator to be very, either all I want to be the next big thing. I want to achieve this. I want to be groundbreaking, but then a different side of me, the more relaxed side is, you're putting in the time every single day, and by the end of it, you're just going to be happy. And I mean, if you're doing something that you truly love, I think that is the actual version of success that we
Success,
should
yeah.
be striving for. Something that we are doing every day that we truly love. It's not the money, it's not the fame, it's not the glory. It is us being able to be on set and just enjoy life and having fun doing it, right?
Dude, 100%. I couldn't have said it better. And I mean, like there's things involved in when you have success, especially when you're young. And being Heartland, this little Canadian show we have up here, it's gone on forever. Like Graham and I were both 20 when we got on the show, and one of the
Mm.
things a lot of people don't really know about the industry, at least for a young working actor. Like we both were consistently working on this show for over a decade, starting when we were 20.
Yeah.
And it might be different if it's a small pond up here. We are not paid what Americans are paid. Maybe reality is different when you're making millions of dollars, but up here we are making a comfortable, happy, successful living as these youngsters. But what no one really talks about is it's actually extremely isolating.
Yes.
Grew up very, very lonely. My life is hotels and a bag that hasn't been unpacked in 17 years. And what Graham has also found is it puts you in a very unique position in life where you are essentially a jet setter. Home is a concept not much bigger than your backpack.
That's
And
right.
it also makes relationships and friendships and entrepreneurial choices more challenging. Now, I think as you get older and more grounded, like I'm 37 now, Graham's also 37. We're at that age where the pieces are starting to relax and we're able to coordinate bigger plans. But certainly when we were younger, I know that we both had this idea that when we finally were on a TV show and successful in the leads on that show, and we knew we weren't going anywhere for at least a few years, that something in life, something inside self would change.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
think we would both say we were both wrong about that. That that shining light of like, I made it, like that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moment. It's just a moment. For
Right.
whatever reason, I think we both instinctually felt that there should be such like a finish line. And
Hmm.
so we were really fortunate to have each other all those years to lean on from just, as far as a brotherhood and philosophical, keeping each other in check.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was a lot of years to spend together. So he is truly my brother at this point because, like you said, like there's no boundaries in terms of telling each other the truth. And
Exactly.
yeah, we just
Authenticity. It's key. You've got to find that people, that person or those people that you can be your true authentic self with, and they're going to not judge you. They're going to say, okay, I'm going to give it to you good and bad. When I agree or disagree, I'm going to tell you what I think. And that's the people you need in your life. There's so much to unpack with what you said right there about the self-exploration. It's like you think that this is going to be when you have this shining moment and this is what, and then you slowly start to realize life is a journey. It's a continued journey of self-exploration and trying to figure things out. So there never is going to be that moment where it's the definitive finish line, because if it is, you're done. And yeah,
I mean, essentially, yes.
yeah,
That's
and
exactly it.
the goal is to not be done, right? To keep learning and to keep growing and to keep trying to figure things out, because who you were yesterday is not who you are today, and it's not who you're going to be tomorrow. And that's just the reality of life if you're living it right. And the other thing that I wanted to dive into with what you said is the whole mental health aspect of it, because you're right. I don't think a lot of people realize that this is an industry, especially if you get on a hit show or you're in a hit film or something, where you're thrust into the limelight and you're constantly out there in the public for people to see, and yet you inwardly are alone as hell. And I don't think people understand. Everybody thinks that the spotlight's on you and you must have a gazillion friends and everybody is around you and you're constantly surrounded, when the reality of it is exactly what you just said. You are in a lonely spot where you don't truly have a home. You're trying
I
to
mean,
build
that's the
relationships, right?
And that said, I will play devil's advocate to that too, because that is all true, but also crocodile tears. I don't
Well-
want to hear any complain
Right.
about that stuff. I've lived in the real world too.
Oh, yeah. You
know what
have
I
to
mean?
be.
It's like
You have
you
to
have the
be.
resources to make healthier choices.
Yes.
And so yeah, I will put that out there. Devil's advocate to my own point.
No, and that's a whole different story, right? The people who are ungrateful. Yeah.
It's a fortunate problem to be able to have the time to focus on noticing that you're lonely.
That's
A
right.
lot of us don't have that.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, just to be able to bounce around and figure out, what you want to do in life, I feel like is, very important. And I mean, I'm very curious too, because you are a very relaxed individual just from these 9 minutes that we've been talking to you. I can already tell you're very loosey goosey. You don't, I feel like you don't let things affect you as far as, rejection, as we like to say in the industry, sometimes selection. So when coming to a role, when coming to a specific job, how do you keep your mental health sane in the sense of not trying to build yourself all the way up here, and then if you don't get it, not putting yourself all the way down here? How do you keep yourself very in the middle of the road?
Well, and you will have to forgive me. This may not be typical answers, and
No,
it's
that's
okay
good.
to disagree
We're
with
here
me.
for it.
Um, dude, none of it matters. None of it matters at all. Like it really doesn't. You could build a list and a bunch of reasons about why it matters. Yes, we need to gain money as a resource to acquire food and have shelter, but those in the first world, at least here, yes, things are getting challenged, more challenging for people, et cetera, et cetera. But man, I've been the poorest of the poor. Some of those times being completely broke and destitute, my happiness was actually higher than when I was maybe fiscally better. So everything is about perspective. And at the end of the day, dude, it doesn't matter. You just gotta live. And that's what I believe. Because for me, it's astounding that it's even happening. And I'm a huge buff in mechanics, specifically quantum mechanics. I really like understanding how this is all happening. Um, it doesn't mean that explaining or learning about how it's happening is going to offer anything different from my experience here. Ironically, learning more about how the universe shapes itself and how this is all even happening has just relaxed me because there really is nothing to prove. There is no one who is the one. There is no one who is really special. And even if they are, I mean, life has a safety mechanism. We are born, we live, we enjoy, and then we pass on, which guarantees that new perspectives, new psychology, new things will emerge, and old will be forgotten. So, regardless of the chaos or the challenges that we're experiencing here on planet Earth, eventually things will stabilize. How do I know that? Because convergent evolution, everything goes from a state of inactivity into chaotic elements. It catalyzes, it fizzes, it goes crazy, and then everyone for a very short and brief little bit gets to enjoy when things settle and become easy and gentle again. And then it starts over. And that's the reality of all things.
Yes.
And that applies even to the human life. So for me, I'm like, with that, when I was younger, and still times now at this age, sometimes knowing that can cause me dread. And that's okay. Because that's a really scary concept to really understand, not just how small you are, but that it's okay and still sort of special that you're even here.
Yeah.
It lets me off the hook, man. For me, it's my safety blanket. It allows me to just live because no matter what narrative you have in your mind that you're thinking that you need to prove something to, whether it's yourself or a God or a person in your life, it's fictional. It's temporary. And if you can hold on to that, it makes all the things in life a lot easier. And I'm also, 37 now. My family's been in crisis for like the last 4 years with health stuff. My dad went through leukemia, and I was able to take time off work to try and help him. So I got to be really close to that. My mom went through breast cancer, and then she had some mental health stuff, some suicide. Things got really crazy. But when you start to go through things that really widen your perspective on life, and you have to be responsible for people other than yourself for the first time ever. I'm not a father.
Right.
So for me, that was as much as I thought I was moving towards manhood, it really took this next stage. And after that, there just really isn't anything that's particularly scary or worrisome about life to me. I know that might sound strange, but for me, that's it.
That is so fucking raw and so real. And we talked at the top of the show about loving to speak to like-minded individuals. That is beyond the scope of like-minded. It's exactly how we try to approach how we live our lives, knowing that everything is it plays out the way it's going to play out. You are just here for a small part of it. Hopefully you get to enjoy that small part of it. But like you said, there's going to be moments of chaos and there's going to be moments of joy. And the quicker you figure that out, the much more happy you can be in the life that you're living. And I love that you're so real about it, because A lot of people haven't figured it out yet, and it's just, yeah, dude, that was so well said. I can't
Well, I
even.
was gonna say, can I mean, I just if you ever start a cult, I'll be your first
Yeah.
follower. I swear. Like the way you just
I am. It's the anti-cult. It is the anti.
yes.
I want us to disillusion the entire self-help model in terms
Yes.
of the part of it that is not actually beneficial to any of our
Mm.
health. I think that it is important that we and I guess the thing too is like for me, I'm not sure that I'm the person who's meant to reach masses, but in these little collective moments talking to
Oh
others,
yeah.
hope that some of these things go forward and we just I think that's what it is, right? You affect your circle and hopefully your circle affects theirs and so on and so on.
Well, and we say it all the time. If by doing this or by our art with the films that we create or the stories that we tell, if we do just connect with one person and it moves forward from there to another person, then that's all that matters, right? It's not about the masses. It's did that one person hear you who needed to hear you today? Then that's all that matters, and that's a good thing and that's a great thing. So I love that that you do that.
Like if you notice too, like one of the things that sort of even like helped me release this concept of like holding on to even goals so tightly was just like I do feel like I'm part of the last generation where people had favorite movies that
Mm.
actually held up for like a generation. Like some of these incredible picks, like I would be, a little kid or in my teens watching some of these movies from the 60s and the 70s. And I'm just like, this is brilliant. But over the time, I've watched the speed of psychology and how we ingest information get faster. And I've watched people don't know these movies anymore. And it's not necessarily even a bad thing. It's just surprising to me
Yeah.
that these things could ever become relics in the past. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to be a relic in the past.
Yeah. well, the good thing is great transition, Carrie. Maybe there's opportunity for you to go back to the past, and you won't have to leave there. Let's get into it, man. Let's start. We got deep there for a little bit, and I love it. But let's do it. Let's talk about The Way Home and the astounding success that show has had. I think that when people say supernatural, time travel, the things that this show engulfs, they don't think Hallmark. You're like, what? I'm tuning into Hallmark for this? It's not a rom-com movie where everybody's happy at the end? Wait a minute. I thought it was extremely brave and intelligent for the company to go, hey, this is an interesting concept. Let's just dive right into this. And then the controversy. I mean, these are not altogether uncontroversial subjects that they're dealing with.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, like, we'll just be honest there. That we were riding a line very closely.
Oh my goodness, are we? Are we? Especially between. Okay, let's dive into it. So you play Nick, who you're the adult version of Nick, who is now finding out that one of his best friend's daughters is the person that he was madly in love with and had a relationship with, and now is in his life again. Wait, what? So I want to talk about that. What was your thought process when you knew you were coming back as the adult version, going, oh, I get to revisit this interesting dynamic between these characters in this relationship?
Because of the controversial nature, because if we leaned in a certain direction, things are get dark and scary very fast.
Yeah.
So
Very
right away,
fast.
before everything was even written, like I was on the phone, we were talking with the writers and Heather and Marley just making a plan for this. And like I'm 37 years old. So my immediate thing was I was like, "Oh, great. Like that's perfect. She's a kid. I'm an adult. Like I'm starting to feel that paternal energy.
Yeah.
But like I'm in that transitory stage. And of course Sadie's a full-grown woman nonetheless, but the dynamic of the two characters. But then big thing was like for the audience, it's going to feel like Nick saw her yesterday. And for Alice,
Yes.
she saw him literally yesterday. But Nick he's had 15 years to grow up and become a man and go through other relationships in college and develop a much more complex sense of emotions and psychology. So I think for him, I really played into the time travel part.
Yeah.
I think Nick is the kind of person that would not only find that, now I'm restricted to the lines on the page, but being me and my own passion for some of these things, I was like, I'm going to play this like Nick is, yes, aggravated at Elliot that they wouldn't share this, that they hide it from him all these years. but I was like, maybe I won't lean so much into the heartbreak of him, but also just be like interested in time travel itself.
Mm.
Because I would love for Nick to come back the next year. I mean, he is the only outsider who knows about the pond now.
He is. He is. That is correct. And what a great thing that is, because they did expand on the storyline beyond just him and Alice. Yeah, you know, there is a relationship there between him and Elliot, and the things that went on with Kat, and that whole dynamic. You know, that we could explore so much further down the line, especially now that Nick knows about time travel.
I really hope they choose to, and I hope that Nick finds some mysterious way of ending up back or forward in time or something. Who knows what they have planned? I know the Wells have rules, but rules change.
Yeah, no.
Well, especially too with your characters' moms, you know, especially going back in that time where being in a same-sex relationship wasn't necessarily the norm as it is today, and especially coming from a Hallmark show where we know that Hallmark was kind of teeter-tottering on even wanting to portray these type of stories. So to be able to go back in time and tell more stories like this, I feel like is a win-win for everybody, and especially you, man, because we want to see more of you pop up in this show. That's for sure.
I got so lucky. Like I've told this story a few times too, but Heather Conkey, who's the showrunner, along with her daughter, they this is their show, but they both worked on Heartland. Heather was the showrunner of Heartland. So
Nice.
I feel very confident that me being a part of The Way Home was very much they had casted that awesome kid Sam to play Nick.
Yeah.
There is a certain similarity between our energies in that, but ultimately it was the luck of just of Heather giving me the opportunity. So I owe my entire career to Heather Conkey largely.
Well, and let me say this though. Let me be the devil's advocate towards that with the luck aspect of it. You clearly presented yourself in a manner to her, and the work that you did on the show to make yourself memorable, to say this guy's a guy that I want to continue to work with on other projects, not just this show.
I will say then, in honor of being totally authentic and just raw, I was like, I totally agree. The reason that I am so humble about this one thing is because she knew me as I was a young man heading towards becoming a much more grounded, much more team player. Like I have rules about how I conduct myself on set, man. Like you know your lines. Half your job is crew morale. You should be polite to everyone. You should assist the entire flow of the day. You should never cause a headache.
That's right.
It's all about assisting the flow. Like I am a pro at work, but I had to find my way there through some headaches, which were mostly unrelated to my time at work. But the reason I seem so humble towards this is because I feel like Heather has given me more than one or two chances to grow up, and I think I've finally gotten my craft and attitude in a place where she approves of it, or at least can sleep well knowing that she gave me opportunities.
Well, I mean, I think that speaks volumes to both you and her and the people that you are. So there you go. I love good stories. I just love when it all works, bro. Nothing makes me happier.
It really does make everything easier too when you have that dynamic on set where you have worked with individuals before on different projects. So you're able to bring that sort of camaraderie together and be able to create this family with a new family, basically. You're meeting a whole different side of a family that you just haven't met before, basically. And I feel like that's really what the dynamic was. I love everything about the show, and I feel like, you know, if they continue in telling these type of stories, I think the show can keep going on and on and on. And I mean, you know, doing our social media things and things like that, there's some big ass Facebook pages for this show that people talk about it. It's like a big community. It's like a book club for the show. It's awesome.
It kind of is like a pretty star-studded cast.
It is. It is.
Sadie, Evan, Kyler. Like Kyler Lee is a star.
Huge.
Man.
Yeah. Huge.
That woman is on. She's incredible.
Huge.
The energy from her and the dynamic and the way that she can steer the entire ship into like this mutual energy where everybody is dancing together. Because sometimes you go to the scenes and you can feel that there's a disconnect, or that the energies between actors and the crew aren't quite meshing. There's some kind of tension. When Kyler walks into a room, all of it melts away, and it just becomes this like gentle flowing thing, because she's just this also she's so witty and so clever, and the way she can just deliver her lines, like if you guys hadn't noticed, the amount they give her to work with, just like enormous amounts of information and exposition on top of that, which is like one of the hardest things to do. That woman can just man, she's just a star, like a true star.
Yeah.
Have you guys had Evan or her on the show?
Not yet, not yet,
Not
but we
yet.
are looking forward to speaking to them both because, I know young Logan here, long, huge time fan of Kyler, all the way to Grey's Anatomy, and just like,
Yeah,
you know,
big
coming.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
She was during those seasons, she was by far the best member.
Oh,
of the
what?
cast.
Lexi,
Agreed.
come on. Like, I mean,
Agreed.
she was incredible. And then the transition period of Supergirl and how her character started on Supergirl and where her character ends up on Supergirl is just a testament to that. Like,
I
just
think when you have
unreal.
Someone like Kyler in a project, inevitably, if it is an ensemble cast, inevitably, you just can't help it. But the
Yeah.
camera's going to start to favor
Yeah.
Kyler, and then favor her character, and it's just who she is. It's her charisma. And then, of course, you might be a little young, Logan, but for us, Andy McDowell.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on now. Come
A
on.
little humble Canadian boy working on a little Canadian show, suddenly hanging out with Andy McDowell. She's
Legendary. She's legendary, man. It's like,
truly a legend, and lives up to it.
and what an opportunity, right? As a young man coming up and wanting to be the guy behind the camera at some point. The lessons and the things that you can learn from those people on that cast, just being there is incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine what Kyler and Andy must bring to the table for you to just soak in as a filmmaker going, wow, okay, that's how to do it. That's how to get it done, kind of a thing. Let's talk about that a little bit too, because doing our research and everything, and tell us if this is still true or not, or if you've been dissuaded, or hopefully not, but that you kind of want to see yourself directing projects in the future that you've written, that and put yourself into stuff.
I imagine, I tried even recently in the last couple of years going the more traditional route through directing, which is to pick up other people's projects, to get attached to things, And then I was like, oh man, I don't know if I could do the whole indie thing. Like, am I gonna write a film and then try to fucking make it myself?
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
It's hard.
I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna. And so in the past, like I've done a couple TV pilots that didn't get picked up. Bunch of short film stuff like that. But it's been like decades. Like I got disillusioned and frustrated, I think, with the industry was for a while, and put all that on my mind. It's been years. I think that the first thing I'm going to do here is something very it's going to be like a Tree of Life philosophical thing where I can go out there and sort of meet Gus Van Sant and Malik halfway.
Yeah.
Maybe get less lost in lens flares and still try to focus on people, but burn, Malik. No.
Yes, it's all right.
But yeah, I'm dead serious. I'm only blushing because I'm actually pretty close to pulling the trigger on some of this stuff, and I do have my premise pretty roughly sussed out now.
Nice.
Real outrageous. In speaking to Graham too, it was really his push to I want to make a movie this year. Let's do this. And we were discussing budgets and what we could come up with personally. And so kind of looking at without crowdfunding and without trying to source more funds, which is also I'm still going to put some energy into that. But if it's going to delay the project an entire year, then fuck it. We'll just use what we have. So we could probably drum up somewhere in the 250 Canadian K to do something like this. And yeah, he was more leaning towards the idea of making it's less of a movie with a traditional story and more of a poem about a very simple story. It's kind of he's very passionate about self-discovery as well, and really interested in what it means to be a man in this modern culture and what self-help and self-healing looks like for men in this modern culture. And I had originally been the energy is focused primarily on the feminine healing and feminine recovery in terms of the movie Eat, Pray, Love, but it's still an incredible movie. It's one of my favorites. It's beautiful. I love how it makes me feel what's the male version of Eat, Pray, Love.
Right.
And yeah, which led me around to a hilarious horror movie title. It should just be called Eat, Pray, Love, but
I love that.
I'll write that one later. That note in the
Right.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's going to be pretty on point of just a guy who's rediscovering his sense of why he chooses life. And simple, and we're obviously a little more complex than that, but we're working that out right now. And hopefully we can have some traction on that in the next few months.
Nice.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations, man, because we know the game, we know the grind. So, I mean, it takes a lot. That's for sure. We completely get it. We completely get it. But how we like to finish up our interviews is by having a little fun. We could really talk forever, man. We might have you back on our mental health podcast so we can talk about enlightenment and what it means to, yes, I feel like that you'd be a perfect guest for that.
Oh
to
my
be
gosh.
honest.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'd be honored.
Yeah,
I
dude.
love it. I
Okay,
love it.
well,
Have to
we'll
work
make that
out.
happen.
Yes, for sure, for sure. But how we like to end up the interviews are our popcorn questions. Now, these are just 5 questions that, can be a little dicey, can be a little fun, can be a little poppy, I guess you could say. It's in the name. It's in the name. Well, the first one is, I feel like this is a little basic, but it's one of those that I feel like we always get a good story out of. What was the funniest moment or most memorable moment on set of The Way Back?
Oh my God, what was the funniest moment for me this year? I think it would have just been overall working with Evan. I don't know if you guys have had, like you said, you hadn't yet, but you've got to get Evan Williams on the show. The kid is brilliant, and also, whoops, I moved the program. Very existential, deep thinking, like highly heart-centered, passionate human being. So, of course, when you get two sort of similar-minded in terms of just like self-expression, energy in the same place, you end up with a storm of giggles. And so, Marnie, who plays one of the moms, we had this scene. We're walking through the yard, and Evan's ahead of us. And for whatever reason, Evan makes me aware that he's like, "You guys aren't on camera. You can do whatever you want." So we have this. So Marnie's supposed to be doing this like ghost thing, whatever, like this ghost story thing. And we're in the background, and I'm telling Marnie, I'm like, "Marnie, no, they want us to like get down." So we're all like getting down. I'm like, "Now stand up." But she's leading this, so this is going on in the background, and then finally, Shamim Sharma, she calls, "Cut, cut, cut!" And she's like, "Evan, Kyla, that was brilliant." Marnie, what the fuck was that? Like, 'cause we originally, yeah, it was ridiculous. It all got explained. We died laughing. It was fun. It was fun getting another castmate in trouble without them realizing I was the culprit.
Yeah.
There's gonna be shenanigans for me. There's always, as long as it's done in a timely manner, shenanigans.
For sure,
yes.
for sure. All right, this next one, I'm dying because you are at that age now where you can go back, but then you're also kind of like current generation, and so this one's going to be interesting.
Buy a thread.
No, come on, man, you're good, you're good. If you could live in any television show or film, which one would it be and why?
Dude, but aren't we already?
That's fair.
Yes.
Dude, any sci-fi. I would love to be. I'm very attracted to sci-fi. It is one of my favorite genres. So if it was a TV show, I think it would definitely be sci-fi. And I think, God, who had the most fun like realms and different activities? Could it be animated?
Sure.
Can
Sure.
be animated.
Oh, is it Farscape? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
It's the one on-
Yeah.
I think that sounds familiar. Yep.
Yeah, dude, because I thought that was amazing. They had the hyperdrive for light speed, but then they had drop drive to go transdimensionally. I was like, yes,
that would be
That's
that's
so
what
much.
have my attention. So that's the show.
There you
I'm
go.
I'm
Right
an
there.
animated voice in 2D reality. That's where I ended
Nice.
up.
Oh, I
There we
love
go.
that animated voice in 2D reality. I love that, man.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, you've worked with so many amazing people so far, but there's got to be that one person. Who would be that one person that you still want to work with in your career?
That I haven't already worked with.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a huge, wide list. I would love to work with Matthew McConaughey because I think he's one of the most talented people. I think the way that he's lived his life outside of work fascinates me. And more than anything, I think that I would drive him fucking nuts. And I would start mimicking him. Like I wouldn't be able to
Right.
help it. It would just it'd start gradual, and then it would just come in. And by the time we were at work, he'd be all mad, veins popping out, and he's like, "I've had enough. I've had enough of you." Yeah, right now.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah, no, yeah.
So yeah, and then I would have this story for the next time I do the podcast about how I got fired from set after losing recording goal. Matthew McConaughey and
Sure.
why.
Sure.
love
Yeah,
that.
no, that's a great answer. Oh my gosh. All right, now we're going to get deep. We're going to do the Barbara Walters moment. All right. If you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self something, what would it be?
Also, oh shit. I mean, being 37 now, I would be like, this makes no sense, but I need you to go tell Dad right now. Like, yeah, Microsoft, Apple, like the usual suspects. No, I joke. I wouldn't. That's such a tricky thing, man. I don't know, because you know what? I'd tell him to just trust that things get better. That's it. It would just be that simple. Say
There you
things
go.
better. It's okay. That's it.
I love
Keep it-
that though.
Keep it hopeful. let him still make the mistakes he needs to. Yeah.
That's it.
And maybe a Microsoft Apple.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, just to skew the scales a little bit.
I love that answer though, because, and almost everybody who we've presented that question to is very similar in that nature. It's about, if I could go back and tell them this, I would give them some advice, but I also wouldn't change anything, because the things that they go through or the mistakes that they make or the hard is why they are who they are today. So let's not mess that up. Right. And so it's always interesting to hear the answers like that. I love that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I would go back and tell myself a few years ago to invest in GameStop for that 2 seconds and then cash out.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so funny. It's so funny. And the fifth and final one, I feel like we already know the answer because we can already tell your vibe from this whole conversation. But are you happy with your career so far?
Dude, it's such a fluctuative thing, right? It's for me, it's like, am I happy with my life? Flux and flow.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it's like for everybody else, but there are some days you wake out of bed and you don't know who the fuck you are, why you're doing this. Every bit of direction you've ever headed towards no longer seems relevant or makes any sense.
Yep.
And then a few hours later, even, you're looking at a flower and suddenly your head's working on a new script, one that you're not even going to write, but you're just standing there playing with it for a little while. And then maybe one of the days, for me, I think the luckiest thing is when I get to work. If it was up to me, I'd be working. All my free time would go to work, being on set. That's where I'm even the healthiest, because that's where the most direction is just offered. So, am I happy with my career? Yes, I am, because I think that as far as being a little Canadian kid in a small Canadian pond, I think I've been very fortunate and done very well. And I don't think a lot of my peers have necessarily had the luck to both. They've been part of a project for like 17 years, and now going into a third season on another show, like that's pretty damn lucky.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And that gratitude that you have is everything. It says everything. Man, what a conversation, man. You are an absolute gem to talk to, my man. You are just a stellar human being. I love your approach to life and how you live and your approach to your career and the things that you aspire to do. And just the general vibe of how you treat people and how you are. What an incredible conversation, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. This was awesome and very energizing. I appreciate both of you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, of course. Well, it's all about social media now. So where can we direct all of our followers to follow you?
I'm pretty much specifically active on Instagram at 689 Kerry James 689. And because we're in the modern era and there's so many scammers out there, it is that one site, guys. Go to Instagram. My link tree is there for any other appropriate things I might be up to. But stick to that one account and don't trust.
Perfect.
Exactly. You got that Kerry James official. Don't trust that
That's
one.
Right.
Not
that's
official.
Right. I know. I love how everybody puts official in it. Oh yeah, that must be real. Yeah, like no.
They're preying on people that aren't necessarily, it's such a makes me angry.
My favorite, man, my favorite is when you're actually friends with the person and a scammer tries to convince you they're the person. It's like, no. It's like, but good try. See you later. It's just unreal. It's unreal.
I'd say 90% of my actual friends have unfollowed me years ago because they retired. Stuff. They're like, man, I love you. That's it. I'm done with your Instagram. And I'm like, oh, I get it.
Oh, that's good.
That's so funny. No, we understand that as well. We understand that as well. Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny. Well, listen, man, again, thank you so much. Take care, and we're going to be talking to you soon.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, reach out anytime. Let me know.
Yep.
Right.
See ya.
Oh, boy. Talk about energy. Talk about good vibes. Just, wow. That was an amazing conversation.
It really was, dude. And, that's the kind of person that you want to have in your circle. That's the kind of guy you want to associate yourself with because, like you said, the positive energy, the positive vibes, and even on bad days, he's like, it's all okay. It's just going to be a moment, and then you're on and you're moving past it. And, it's incredible to hear, and I think that's why he's been so successful, right? Because as he said, he brings that to the set, he brings that to the people he's around, and clearly that has resonated with the people that he works with, and that's why he continues to see the success that he has. I love that thing when he says, you know, one day you wake up and I thought he was describing my day today. I started off exactly like that, in just a funk. My day fucking sucked. Why am I here? Everything I want is a disaster. And then I go on a hike and I'm okay. Everything's like, I was like, bro, were you following me?
Right.
But it is, I think it's that type of approach when you can live your life like that I just think you see real success. And yeah, what a joy to talk to you.
Completely agree. Thank you again, Kerry James, for coming on the show.